Hello, guys. Today we got an exciting episode, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of the backstory. So I'm coming from LA. I got late to my first flight, and Matt was nice enough just to wait and move. And then shout out to the Amplify Studios, right? They were flexible, right, in the timing. That's one thing. The second thing, shout out to the Scott Reed who got connected us, Matt and me. And of course, especially shout out to Matt. Thank you for coming down here because he lives in Junction and he was, nice enough to fly to Arizona, right, and make that happen. Thank you very much. Without further ado, right, Matt, please welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Igor. It's
Yeah.
nice to be here.
Yes, thank you for being open, right, and willing to share your experience because I think it's valuable when you can change the people's life by just sharing your personal experience, number one, right, and then give maybe some ideas what they can do different this time. I want to give a little brief intro, right, for Matt. So Matt is a former MLB player. He was drafted, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, it was a New York Mets team, right?
That's
correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then he played for 3 years with Florida Marlins.
That's right.
He got another 3 years with Chicago White Sox.
That's right.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Was there any other teams you play for?
I did play for a few other teams. I played for Colorado Rockies. I played here in Arizona for a half a season. Played in Houston.
Okay.
And then also in Anaheim. So
Anaheim?
those were teams mixed in between Chicago and Florida. Yeah.
That's so cool. That's amazing. So I'm always getting pumped. We always want to lead with sports, right? Because again, having the professional background, I think if I would not play sports, my future will be different. There's a lot of things you taking out from sport. You just using that in your real life, like in your normal life, I would say. Can you give us a little bit of brief intro? Like how did you start your sport career, I would say, right? Being a young child, where you grew up, how was that?
I grew up in a small town in Rexburg, Idaho. I always played sports. I think I started baseball when I was like 5 or 6 and would always play, up in Idaho you have to basically play the sport that the weather will allow. So once baseball's over you move on to football and then basketball. So I was pretty diverse growing up playing all 3 sports. But I think baseball was kind of my favorite. It allowed me to spend more time with my teammates in the summer, especially doing travel ball and stuff like that. It was a little bit different dynamic back then in the 80s and early 90s than it is now, and the way it's grown to be such a competitive thing for youth sports. It's totally, I've asked other people about how it goes nowadays, and it completely blows me away how it's gone. So I played college baseball in my hometown, and then I went on a 2-year Mormon mission between my freshman and sophomore years. Didn't even really think that coming back and playing baseball was a big deal at the time or while I was there. It was just kind of a way to think about maybe paying for school and doing it that way. But I gradually got better and better and better, and I ended up getting drafted by the New York Mets after my sophomore year. I had opportunities to go and finish my college career by a multitude of different Division I schools. But I realized if I was going to make that jump into pro ball as a 22-year-old, I had better get going. So I made that decision, and ultimately I ended up working out.
That's amazing. So, and then I feel like a lot of people only realize what they've been what happened to them, right, when they just stopped being part of like major leagues. So you're like, oh, you know what? I was MLB. Like, how many people a year do that? Like, how many people for a lifetime will do that, right? So it's a extraordinary achievement of your life. So speaking of back to the youth ages, right, and youth probably development. So what I'm seeing, again, maybe I'm wrong. So there's a lot of pressure of, I don't know, parents, people, results, right? You name it, right? The internal pressure, there's a big thing about right now psychology, right? And mental health. Can you share how would you cope with that pressure when you're like 13, 12, 14, whatever, like years old?
In my experience, I know it's different back then from what it is now. It's gone completely crazy with the travel teams and stuff like that. I attribute a lot of credit to my father. He never really made me feel like this was his dream and you have to do it for me and those kind of things. And I never felt pressure like that. He made it He just made it fun for me and others and my older brother, and we never really had that pressure. I know that there's pressure that youth feel nowadays, even more so than back then, because there are huge contracts. There are Division I scholarships. You can pay for your school that way. You want to be successful, especially out on the baseball field and in other sports. But it's just one of those things where the pressure it feels like it's gotten exponentially greater and greater as time's gone on with the expectations sometimes parents put on their kids. I mean, it's a real thing. I'm not saying it's wrong, because you want your kids to be successful and you want them to work hard. But there can be checks and balances with that too, I think.
Thank you, Matt. So I think going through that professional experience, it's just invaluable for you to share to the people who's actually starting the journey, right? Because what would you say to parents who's, because again, let me backtrack. So I have 3 kids. I'm on a stance every single weekend, right? And there's some examples I see. I'm not sure if it's sustainable for the family in the long run if they're going to be acting like that. What would you say to those parents who are like a little bit over the top of, over the top of the expectations, I would say, right, from their child?
I think parents nowadays, especially when you have to think about the game of baseball, which is what I'm more familiar with, football, basketball. I didn't know this, but a long time ago, somebody told me that the game of baseball is the only sport that once you score, you don't automatically go back on defense. And so parents nowadays, they really got to realize that that game is based around failure. If you fail 7 out of 10 times at the highest level, you go to the Hall of Fame. That's a lot. If you failed that many times in any other venture in business or in life, you don't keep your job. So I think if parents can understand that there's going to be failures, there's going to be ups and downs, especially playing baseball. You can't hit 1,000 all the time. You can't strike everybody out. And so just don't put unrealistic expectations on kids so much was where if they do fail, they do strike out or do pop up, that there's not like these crazy emotional just discharges, and just teach them that, hey, that's okay. Let's try to keep this fun. Everyone wants to be competitive and successful and to win. You talk to Derek Jeter, he's all about winning. Win. That's great, but when you're doing a 12U travel team, you might run into teams that are better than you. So just try to keep it fun, be as competitive as you can, play hard, and I mean, have fun. Some of the best memories I've ever had playing the game of baseball, they're not Major League Baseball memories. They're back when I was in college and in high school and in youth travel teams.
Absolutely.
Because it was about fun and the emotional side of it. Playing in the majors is a lot of business. It's a lot of don't ride the emotional roller coaster, because you are going to get hit and you're going to lose. So you got to be able to handle that.
Absolutely, yeah. Let me give you some knuckles. That was a nugget, though. Thank you, Matt. So I want to move on to the next thing. I think, and why I want to move on, because one of the biggest challenges by far, it's money management. Because I probably compare that to the Powerball winning. Like you're winning that ticket of the Powerball, and all of a sudden you got the waterfall of money coming through your way, and then you're like, oh my goodness, probably a social trap is I'm going to buy a Lambo, right? Big house. And so you guys not you guys. Usually what happens, you buy the liabilities, a lot of different liabilities, right? And then you facing that inflated lifestyle. So I learned that term from a couple people. So, and then expenses will never go away, but then sure enough, your salary, right, your fame will go one day, right? I don't know when, but one day it's going to go out. So can you share your experience going into the league and then facing that money coming through, right? And you're like, okay, what happened to you?
Right. At first, it was awesome. You see the bigger paychecks coming in, that kind of money. You're not used to it, obviously. You can see what it's like. But I got some really good advice one time that I wish I would have taken it a little bit more seriously at the time. But you're going to be an ex-professional athlete a lot longer than you'll be a professional athlete. So if you can understand that you have a window, and you need to maximize your potential in that window and your earning power, and make sure that you understand that those fat checks aren't always going to be coming in. And so you need to plan accordingly. And so with that knowledge that you're going to be an ex-professional athlete a lot longer than a professional athlete, I think if you just think about that, it will enable you to make the right decisions in how to manage your money and how to invest it and who to invest it with, and to be more cognizant of the fact that something could go wrong. So you try to be more frugal instead of, it's fun to go and treat yourself when you're doing well and having success. But if you can make sure that you also realize that there will be a day when that stops, and you have to make sure you've planned accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, those are the great. I just want to repeat that, right? So Matt said you're going to be a lot longer ex-professional athlete than professional athlete, and that's true, right? That's the reality of the life. One other huge challenge, and I hear that time and time again. Oh, I got the money manager, right? And all of a sudden, it's your story again. We connected multiple times before the interview to prepare. So he's flying helicopters, right? And Ferraris. He's driving Ferraris and then taking those beautiful vacations. You're like, man, what's going on, right? Yeah. I'm playing the game. I can't do that. And you're doing all of that. What's going on? Can you share that story? So what happened? And then...
Well, I think it's part of me not doing my due diligence. I took business management classes in college. I learned accounting skills. I never got my degree in any of those things. It was just undergraduate study. But I think if you're more aware of making sure that you're being involved in your own finances and not just saying here to somebody to have them manage them for you. I had my first financial advisor. I shouldn't say my first, because my first was with my agent, and he did an amazing job. Yeah. In fact, they'd sometimes tell me, like, Matt, like, go buy something, go
That's cool.
Something cool. I'm like, well, I am, but being single, and I come from a very traditional family. My father's more, sometimes that's good and bad. He's more like hide the money you have underneath your mattress type of guy. But
that's cool.
I think it's just one of those things where you gotta make sure you just don't say here to anybody to manage your finances and then just walk away or look at it once in a while. You need to be more involved. I think that was what I didn't do as well as I should, because my second one that I hired after my agent, it was a bad deal. He's basically stealing from all his clients and marking up all these extra different products and stuff, and he eventually got caught, but it was just one of those things where it's just like, dang it, I just wish I would have been a little bit more involved at the beginning, so to prevent stuff like that from happening.
Yeah, again, that's a golden thing, right? What Matt's saying again, I just want to repeat back. So do your due diligence and find. We had an interview yesterday with Chase Kaufman again. So, and there's some nuggets there. He was like, find the person who's going to spend time educating you, and might be giving you advice of what's not working first, but not dragging you into, look at this is a really good deal, right? So saying you want to be aware here. What do you think? Is that?
Well, I think if you do that, that's way better, because if you just say here, manage my money, it's going to be a large temptation for any individual that's going to do that to just not take what they need to enable them and to benefit them. Because they think you don't know what you're talking about, which you probably don't. But that's, I think, one of the mistakes you make as a professional athlete is, make sure you know who's doing it, who you've hired to do it, and be more involved, and prevent yourself a lot of heartache and misery, I think, because sometimes it's too late, or you get involved in litigated battles, and the government gets involved, and you have to sign stuff, and just protect yourself. So I guess what I'm saying.
So I like the fact you said, go treat yourself, buy yourself something fun, or, go to vacation or whatever. So can you give us an example, like real example, what you did for yourself when you're like, you know what, I'm doing pretty well, let's buy this, or let's go there?
I basically bought myself a nice watch and a nice car for every year I was in the majors.
Every year?
Sometimes I'd swap out the cars, but usually it would be a watch for sure every year. It was just a way to show me, and a kind of like a token of that year was this year. And I remember that year by that token, I guess. But After that, I was usually pretty frugal with my money. I like to save it, but it was a car. I like cars, so
Okay.
yeah.
Can you brag a little bit? Like, what was the best car you bought?
Let's see. I don't know. Probably my Mercedes S63 AMG. That was probably the best one. It was fun. I liked it.
So what year was it?
It was 2016. I think I bought that right when I got done playing. So
Oh my goodness, that's a beautiful machine, though.
it was.
And what about the watch?
I just got a bunch of Breitlings. I have a Cartier, a couple others, but it was nice going out and kind of treating myself at the either beginning or the middle of the year, and then back to work. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you saving and saving, you got the temptation, because it's building, right? And then it's like, hey, man, let's do something fun, right?
There's nothing wrong to reward yourself from all the hard work and how far you've come. I mean, driving on those minor league buses and eating crappy food and late nights and dirty hotels. I mean, there was a lot of work and a lot of effort and sacrifice. Not being with your families was huge. So, I mean, I think the first time I got done playing in 2016 was the first summer I ever had off in like almost 20 years. So there's a lot that goes into it. So it's not bad to reward yourself. But, I mean, after that, have a plan.
Yeah, I mean, that's brilliant. I think what Matt is talking about, the delayed gratification. So, and I see people that doing that differently, like that they spent 90% on rewarding themselves, and then 10% will be for life or investments, and then I think the vice versa will be a little bit better idea, right? When you just focus on that, and then you like 1 month or 1 year, you say, you know what, I'll put 10% off of my net worth and buy yourself something, right?
I played with individuals that would go paycheck to paycheck in the big leagues, and it's like,
whoa,
yeah, they look the part, but spending
making the millions of dollars, they go paycheck to
every
paycheck.
paycheck you get, you go blow it. Like, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I mean, and that's what not to do. I mean,
can you give us like examples? Like, what would they buy,
Bentleys
do?
and Rolls Royces? The jewelry thing is just absolutely blew me away. It's just like spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on jewelry, and if it were one time, I guess during that year, okay, but showing up with new stuff every week,
Like
and
it's
every
monthly,
month.
right?
Yeah, so some guys did that. I wouldn't say everybody.
Yeah.
And then there was players that did it the right way. They were making even that much more than everybody else. I mean, I played with Todd Helton in Colorado, and his wife wouldn't let him bring a nice bottle of wine on the plane. So we kind of thought that was funny, but yeah, there's certain type of attitudes and there's certain type of lifestyles that certain guys have, but in order to be taking care of you and your family long term, I would say don't live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool. So there's a NBA guy. I probably shouldn't say the last name, but then he would drive for the first 5 years of his career, same car, and guess what the car was? Toyota Tundra.
Yeah.
And then, so it was to the point the teammates were embarrassed.
But
the teammates,
I guarantee you, they gave him crap about it.
yeah. So the teammates were saying, "Man, you're making like, I don't know, 15 million per year. Can you buy can we just scrap the money together and buy you like a different car?" He was like, "I'm fine, don't worry." So, but believe me, he's doing really well. He's going to probably stop playing next year, a couple years from now. He's going to do really, really well. And that's the emotional temptation. Like, we're talking about a lot of psychology and emotions, right? And again, once you start to receive a big chunk of money, if you cannot control $1 in your pocket, right? Sure enough, you're not going to be controlling, right, millions of dollars coming in.
I think that kind of attitude and disposition you take like that, it gives you the peace of mind down the road for your family, you, maybe your kids, their kids, or even beyond. Like the peace of mind's invaluable, I think, to have that kind of approach.
I want a last question about that topic. So I don't watch too much of MLB, right? Too much of the baseball leagues. But then Congress to Dodgers, so they won the title, right, this year. So every time I see guys pitching, right, it's a face and it's close So what about the chains? What's going on? Is it the culture? Is it the something everybody like? What is that thing?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Everybody has a chain.
I was playing, I was basically taught by the old school guys. There was a lot of things that there were do's and don'ts you couldn't do back then. Like back then, if I were to get caught wearing like a New York Mets hat out in public,
Okay.
the veterans would have punched me in the face. It would have been really bad. It was just a no. You're not going to take the team out with you on your head or on your body. And then I saw that gradually changing. And
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. With the social media, you're almost doing yourself a disservice if you weren't promoting your own brand by wearing your team's stuff. But when I came up, that was a huge no-no. We couldn't wear chains while we were playing.
Interesting.
You had to cover up your tattoos back then. It was called the Justin Miller rule. In fact, I played with him in Florida. So there's been a lot of things where players get to promote their brand. They get to go out there and exploit themselves and their team and try to make their teams more valuable in that sense, I think, but also make themselves money. I mean, think about it now. College players are getting paid NIL deals. I mean, it's that back in 2000, that would have been unheard of to think about that. So,
I mean, it's became kind of I would say the cult rate of the jewelry rate, and then I wouldn't probably say that showing off a little bit more than
I think it's just
before,
it's
right?
just the culture, I think, that's changed. It's evolved. I don't think it's bad.
Yeah.
I just think that I guess there's some jealousy on my part. It's like I would have been fun wearing a chain or something like that. But nowadays with social media, Instagram, everything, I think it's part of growing your own brand because you're allowed to do that now.
Yeah.
And back then you weren't.
Yeah.
So.
And that's decentralization of things, all right? Before it belongs to, I don't know, what's the sport? CSB, like, I don't know. What's the biggest sports channel? NBC, like, I don't know. I don't even follow
ESPN,
them, but again.
ESPN's pretty big.
ESPN right now,
Fox,
right?
yeah.
Now you could be your own ESPN,
Yeah.
right? If you
I think, guys, the more you throw yourself out there, the more you can promote yourself and maybe get commercial deals or, advertising and stuff on your own part, even locally. Like not even talking like doing a Gatorade commercial, but just locally in your city stuff. You can make a ton of money doing that.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's cool.
there's football players that live strictly off their endorsement money and don't even touch their salary. So if you can do that, more power to you.
I mean, that's powerful. Question about last one, because I want to finish that Dodgers thing. So what do you think one thing stands out? Ohtani, that guy from Japan who made it to the league and then who made a huge buzz, right? And, and in my opinion, he's doing really, really well.
I think his charisma catches fans. He's always smiling and having fun. Not only is he a freak of nature because he can throw a baseball 100 miles an hour and hit home runs like Mike Trout, so he can do both facets of the game extremely well. Is like I said, he's very charismatic. He wants to promote baseball, not only in America, but I mean over in Japan. I remember playing against Ichiro Suzuki. He had that kind of fandom along with him also. But Ohtani is something that we've never seen, and it's good for baseball because it's promoting the sport.
Yeah.
And playing in the biggest market probably helps a lot also.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's just expanding that network, right, of people who's interested.
It's the reason why they can pay him the way they do.
Yeah. I mean, he's something. I don't know. I saw him.
He's a phenomenon. He is. Not only that, hit and run or hit and pitch, but he can run too. So
Gotcha.
He's a huge dude. He's been great for the sport of baseball.
Yeah, thank you, Matt, for sharing that. So I think one of the fastest pitches your own was 102 miles.
I think it's almost something like that.
No, I just researched that. It was 102 miles during the game. To put it in perspective, right, when you're in a batting cage, right, and you put it on 70 miles per hour, you can barely see the ball. I'm not talking about hitting the ball. I'm talking about the amateur people, right?
Right.
So now you just imagine 102 hours. I mean, 102. like miles per hour flying your direction, and you need to hit that bat and then make it a home run. It's like almost impossible unless you spend the last 10 years doing that every, I don't know, single day, or I don't know. So
my first year in the majors, I went out for my third inning of work, and I went through the lineup the first time. I was a relief pitcher, and I remember they gave me an at-bat, and I faced a guy throwing 94 miles an hour, and I hadn't seen a live pitch, since 1998. This was 2007.
okay,
And so I got in the batter's box, and, I had no chance to hit that ball because, you have to have your timing down.
Yeah.
Pitching is upsetting good hitting, so you have to have timing. But it's incredible. Good major league hitters, like they can hit a rocket. I mean, it doesn't matter how fast you throw it, especially if it's straight and if you're showing the ball early. But it's incredible what they can do.
it's just insane, you know. In other words, it's just insane.
It is.
Right? So it's on TV. It's you know what? He just threw that not too strong, not too fast. But then when you see it in the real life, it just next level, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's shift the gears. Let's shift the gears to the business venture and the business idea while you're playing, because there's two different opinions. One is never touch anything, focus on sports, isolate yourself. And that's might be right. I don't know. So, but there's another idea of, you know what? It's not going to be forever. So you're going to face the end, right? So, and it's going to come sooner than later, and it might be tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is might be tomorrow.
Right.
So what do you think, or maybe what type of message can you send to the people who's playing right now, for example? All right, and then you're like, you know what? I'm gonna focus on playing, and then when it's over, maybe I'm gonna start to do something else. So what do you think?
I think guys should absolutely start doing stuff in the off season, building a team around themselves, incorporating in business professionals, go to business seminars, even if it's just once a week during the off season. Obviously, I understand you need to focus on the task at hand during the season. That's your job. That's what's making you this money.
Yeah.
But I don't see at all like why guys don't do that more in the off season, going to business seminars, or at least giving yourself a chance to understand how you could start when it does end, start having a passive income immediately when it's over. You don't have to wait until okay, I'm finally retired. There's not very many guys, especially in the game of baseball, that get the luxury of saying, oh, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. There's only a few. Derek Jeter, guys get to decide when it's their time to retire. Basically, usually baseball or your body tells you that you're done, or, management of a team. So I think it's very important to begin to build some kind of, not your portfolio, but have a team involved to give you a chance to start some passive income. So that way, because baseball players are so structured and competitive, and we're on a routine all day long for 9 months. So once you step away, you'll have a routine, something to get excited about. I think that's one thing that I wish I would have done a little bit better, because in baseball and all sports, it's all about timing. Just a lot of guys, you blow out something, have an injury, and then you don't get signed for next year, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I wanted to play 3 more years. That was my exit strategy. So you just never know, like you said.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. I think it's a genius, right, idea. So I have one observation, just one. So when I see guys, let's say 25 years old, they travel with a team, and the first thing they pack in the back, you know what is that? A PlayStation. And I would challenge them saying, what if you spend 30 minutes instead of playing that PlayStation game for 5 hours? I don't know how you find that, probably over your sleeping time or something. So you just spend 30 minutes on your financial basic education. And my thinking was, how can that change your future life? Your future yourself probably say, thank you very much for you doing this early enough. What do you think about that?
I couldn't agree more. In fact, because that's what we used to do. We used to get into a city, and we'd unpack the PlayStation or the Xbox, and we'd play hockey all night long until we go to bed. It kept us from going out to the bars and stuff, but I think that would be a huge thing if guys would just do that, make that commitment, spend a little bit of time, especially in the morning, like don't stay up all night. In the morning, spend a little time on how you can better prepare you and your families, in your future. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and we just want to repeat it multiple times again. So I think I'm going to steal your words, right? You're going to be ex-professional player a lot longer than actually performing professional player, right? Who's doing the job every single day. So, and I think you're never going to be over-preparing yourself.
Absolutely not.
Right? You probably will not going to be able to over-prepare yourself for the we call it a normal life. Mm-hmm. So we discussed that multiple times. And I just want to ask your personal experience. Remember, you start to transition into the normal life, right, during your playing career. Can you share that experience? Remember, you were sharing the story about infrastructure company, right? And you just help your brother, right, to build that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you also need to be wary of the fact that there's chances when you're a professional athlete. There's a strong chance that your family or people close to you are going to come and ask for resources to help themselves, and obviously you want to.
Yeah.
I would say it's good advice to hire somebody to say no for yourself to them, and take that burden and pressure off of you a little bit. I had the opportunity to invest some money with my family into a really good a business deal, and it worked out. But family's tough because they want to leverage it so it only benefits them usually, and if it doesn't work, then it's really no burden to them. It was your money. So I think you just got to be wary of that stuff sometimes, because it can create wedges between families, and that's what you don't want. Yeah. Is the wedges, like the money, how it affects relationships and stuff. So it's easier to almost have somebody to help you say no. That would be my advice.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great advice, though. And there's one more thing I learned I just want to share and double down on what you're saying. Mm-hmm. So there's two things usually happening. Again, I'm not the smartest person, but that's what I heard from the guys who got a lot of capital, right, to play with. They're saying there's behavioral problem, like there's certain behavior asking you money every month, right? Mm-hmm. For example, drinking, right? So you're drinking, you need more money to keep going drinking, right? That's one example. And the second example, it's an asset problem. For example, I want to get a car, and you're like, why do you want to get a car? So because I want to drive Uber and make more money, you know what I mean? So that's the asset problem. So he cannot get that one. And they were saying, so if it's asset problem, most likely I'm going to help my relatives, whatever, who's asking. But if it's behavioral problem, so I'm going to say, like you said, learn to say no, because it's never going to change. Right? They're going to come tomorrow, and then next week, and then after a couple of months.
Especially if you're not going to be involved yourself. You know what I'm saying? If you're just going to be like here and then expect that there might be some reciprocation, chances are there isn't going to be, because they can use the, hey, we're blood, remember? Like, so it shouldn't have to matter.
Yeah. They use that emotional connection to you, right? It's like emotional thing.
Yeah, and it's tough not to, as an athlete, get emotionally involved too, because you want to help them.
Yeah.
And you want to see them happy, and that's great, but you just need to, I feel like you need to cover your bases, do the research, and have someone that you trust come in there and help you understand. And like I said, be involved. You know what I mean? You just give somebody money and just go do it on your own. If they don't know what they're doing, it's going to fail, or they're going to run it into the ground, and then your investment's done. And then, like I said, it's going to create a wedge. You're going to have hard feelings.
Tension right away.
Tension, right? So it could destroy a relationship. So just be mindful of that for sure, and aware of your surroundings. So.
Mm-hmm. Another example, like people will, and again, if you're in a better financial position, what could be better than support somebody, right? Mm-hmm. But can you speak off the things like it's not going to be a bad idea to put something in contract, in writing. Like, so we did this, and sure enough, after a certain period of time, we need to do that or this. You know what I mean? Can you speak about that?
You 100% need a contract every time. the whole handshake agreement thing, that doesn't work, especially if you're not going to be involved. You got to make sure that if you're going to do a contract, even with anybody, that there's some kind of collateral just in case to cover yourself. If it doesn't work, then you're not out completely. You can have a contract. I mean, that's great. But if what's under the contract is not working for either of you, you still have to hire an attorney and then go through the litigation process, and that's not fun. So
Yeah.
I would say the biggest piece of advice I would say is to make sure you got somebody in place that's going to help you make these decisions to make it easier on you, because these are tough. You know, there's emotion, there's love involved, and especially with family and friends. You know, I guess it's easier to say no to just random people, but sometimes it's hard because some people are very good with the way they present things, and it sounds great, and you want to help them, and you hope it works, and you just got to protect yourself.
Yeah. And I think what I want to add as well, so that contract might save, I'm talking about relationship, like if it's relatives, right? Again, so I'm talking about maybe it's extended family. So that's a lot of times what happens, all of a sudden you got two cousins in Nebraska, right? And then, so it might save the relationships because you have something in place firsthand, right? You say, listen, so we agreed on this. Why would that change, right? So let's follow the rules and stuff like that. So, and having that layer of somebody who is managing your money, they can say no to them, right? Because they unemotional decision makers.
Right.
What do you think? Is that a good idea to have those guys?
I would say that because you're probably paying them to have your best interests in mind, and so I would say you would have to definitely have somebody like that involved. You can't do it yourself. Take yourself out of it a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It would be easier that way. Save yourself a lot of grief and a lot of problems. So,
and I think there's another thinking of people saying, "Oh, they're going to charge me $100,000, right, or whatever." I'm talking about money management team, person, whatever, advisors. So. Now you had all of that experience now, right? So would you pay $100,000 in advance not to lose a couple million? So what do you think? What about that idea?
I would say that that's a great way to save your capital. Yeah, I mean, there's financial advisors. They take a percentage, obviously, and stuff like that. But you just need to find people that you trust, people that have done it before, and people that are doing it for other people and have a wealth of knowledge and experience in helping do that. I mean, there's people out there that will do that, even besides financial advisors. So, I mean, I'm going to a business coach right now, thinking about starting a facility in Colorado, multifaceted facility for indoor sports, not just baseball, all kinds of stuff. And I've been going to a business coach for the last 2 months, every Wednesday for an hour, and it's been amazing just to have him present the plan. It's not just going in there and being like, hey, there's a building, I'm going to pay the rent. Let's get it going. Come out of pocket a couple $100,000 for all this stuff. Let's get it going. Lights are on. And then no one shows up.
Yeah.
He's given me a wealth of knowledge, on just how to like get it going, what you're thinking, what it could be making, marketing, advertising, what kind of group of people do you have in place to help you run it, like all kinds of stuff. So I'd say just like if professional athletes did that for like a month, 4 times in the off season, it's going to better prepare you to go in and understand what you're trying to do. You're going to start collecting checks. It's going to be easier to say no and to make sound decisions when you have that kind of knowledge. I would totally recommend that.
Absolutely. That's some nuggets from Matt, though. And I think what Matt is saying, just want to say it one more time, invest in yourself. And a lot of times, again, there's temptation of doing easy things. Like you come back after practice, your body probably exhausted. Again, speaking of physical tension, right, and physical, I would say, pressure on your body, but then your mind is still clear, right? You might just work a little bit on your mind. And that's what I'm getting from experience of other people. They not focus enough on the mind work. And the hardest work is, if you professional athlete, you extracting a lot from your body, right? But not necessarily from your mind. Psychology, a lot of psychology, right? It's psychological professional sports. I believe in that. So, and that's a good question too. Actually.
Well, I think it could take a lot of stress off your mind from maybe what happened this afternoon, if you blew a save or if it didn't go so well at the plate or something like that. Well, that's fine. Don't ride that emotional roller coaster. Dive into something like this where you can exercise your brain power a little bit and do some financial planning. I mean, it's not going to be a burden. It'd be just something to keep preparing yourself.
So, question about the sport: do you think it's the percentage-wise? How much is it physical? How much is it mental?
It's a lot of physical, but I would say baseball is one of those sports where it's more mental, because if you're playing in the major leagues, everyone's really, really good. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
There's
no bad players there, for sure.
Everyone's good. So I think it's the players that can slow it down once the game speeds up, because at every level, high school, college, JUCO, D1, the minor leagues, all the way up through AA, AAA, the majors, the game keeps getting faster at every level. And so you have to be mentally sharp in order to slow the game down in your mind, so that so it doesn't speed up on you and overwhelm you and bulldoze you over. Especially pitching. I mean, I know hitting is one of those things. Now they have not shot clock, but a timed, I guess, shot clock or whatever before you have to get into the batter's box, or it's a violation and you get a strike called on you. So you have a limited amount of time. But if you're pitching, you really have to slow it down. So you don't just go crazy and get bulldozed by the speed of the game.
Absolutely, yeah. That's amazing. So I think there's one more thing I heard from the athletes as well. So, I wish I connect to more people while playing. Because you have that window of probably, an absolute, it's just limited to your mind, right? Opportunities you have when you're on national television, right? Every other week or every other day, whatever. So, and I think a lot of people are not taking advantage of that window by connecting to people who's going to form your future. So can you speak about that? Were you able to build the connections, relationships
That's one of my biggest regrets is I'm not really an extrovert. I'm not out there trying to. That's one of I wish I would have done that a lot better. With the different, I played on 8 different teams. There's a lot of different people and organizations and players and people you come in contact with that you can definitely take advantage of that. You can ask questions. There's a lot of downtime, especially in Major League Baseball, that you can go ahead and ask questions and see who maybe your friends have or that are managing their money, and just ask questions. It doesn't hurt to go out there and gain more knowledge about your situation. I mean, you're at the highest level, you're playing in different cities, you have the best help out there. So don't be scared to go and try to find it and use it to your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, that's invaluable, right? When you play in the league, no matter which league, and then you're reaching out to somebody, and he was like, oh my goodness, people I want to talk to that guy. He's at this certain level of success.
Well, it looks like he's invested in himself and his future. So those other people want to talk to you.
Yeah. But then trying to reach out to them when you're 5 years after the league experience, right? Or nobody remembers.
It's a lot tougher.
It's a lot tougher
to get a hold of people. Everyone changes, players change, players retire. So yeah, do it while you're playing. Keep those networks, because I still have friends that I'd played with, but there's still things that I regret about not keeping in such great contact with certain guys. Yeah. I mean, everyone goes on to other things and stuff like that, but I think having that connection is huge.
Yeah, I want to share a story real quick about Kobe Bryant and then my experience of not doing the things right away. So I'm showing up to the game, right? It's my son playing game, and then everybody's gathered on one court. It's a 5-court facility. Everybody's there, and then the rumors start to go around the building. Oh, Kobe Bryant is there. I was like, I'm not going to go there. He's young. He's healthy. He's going to live 20 more years. I'm going to meet him multiple more times. Tomorrow, he's gone. Next day, I wake up, and he's gone. And that was a great lesson for me. Take an action today or yesterday, not do it. If you have an opportunity, just do it, right? And then you're not going to have that regret in the future, right? So I think we're come to conclusion right now. So Matt, what would you share to your younger self when you starting that baseball career? What would you share to?
I think the biggest thing is I look back and I wish I would have been a little just bit more involved in some of the things that I learned in college, and just kind of use those, especially when you have downtime, traveling around and stuff like that. It's just that don't have the mentality of just, oh, I'm making a paycheck, it looks nice, just stuff it away, and then just like let somebody else like go ahead and manage it or not manage it, and then just like don't worry about it. You should be more involved in your own. I mean, you did it, you made it, you sacrificed, you went ahead and put in the work and the time and the effort. So make sure you are more involved in those kind of things. I'm not saying be selfish. I'm saying get some people around you that you trust and people that have done it before, and be more involved in your own like successes, I guess, especially during the off season. It's just, we play 162 games in 180 days plus spring training. That's a lot, but you still have 3-4 months off. You have a job to do during those 8 months. Those other 4 months, you work out 2-3 hours a day, and then you have all this downtime. Invest in yourself and bet on yourself. Don't just give it to people and have them bet it for you. If you're going to do something, bet on yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, that's brilliant. I think that's a great nugget of the information. So I think we're going to wrap it up. So I want to say thank you again, Matt. It's just pleasure, right? Thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you for a message to the people, right, who's actually involved, like actively involved in the professional league. And I want to give a little bit of statistics. If you play in MLB, you are in a better position because the bankruptcy rate, one of the lowest out of the 4 major leagues like NFL, NBA, and NHL. So MLB is actually only at the 8% bankruptcy rate. And within the next 4 years, right, once you stop playing, so it takes about 4 years for you to go bankrupt. But lucky enough, again, if you play in baseball, it's only 8%. If you're looking at NFL, guys, it's a 78% bankruptcy rate. So what it tells me, again, what it tells you, Matt, what do you think?
I would say I would like to give a shout out to the Major League Baseball Players Association too. They do a wonderful job in getting people in the organization to allow people to go around to each spring training camp. Usually there's a meeting every morning with somebody different helping guys understand, you need to be more involved in this. You're going to be an ex-professional baseball player a lot longer than a current one. Take the necessary steps to prepare yourself. They do a wonderful job in helping guys understand that, that money's sweet right now, but you got to protect it and do what you can with it. Obviously you can enjoy it, but I think the MLBPTA does a wonderful job putting the personnel in place to help guys educate themselves what to do and what not to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, Matt, thank you for coming, right? Let me shake your hand.
Thank you, Igor.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
It was absolute pleasure, right? And then hope you guys loved the episode. Let's stay in touch, right?
Okay, let's do it.